Thank you, America. This is Conservative Roundtable. I appreciate your following this event. We have a very great event to talk with Dan Payne. He's the CEO of Cable Links Consulting Construction Group. And Dan is also a U.S. military veteran. Dan, welcome to our show, Conservative Roundtable.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very pleased to be here.
Well, we have a lot of stuff going on. First, before we go too far, I'd like for our audience to know who you are and who is Dan Payne?
Well, Dan Payne is a retired Marine officer. I did close to 23 years in the Marine Corps, and when I retired from the Marines, I got involved in politics, and since then have expanded to veterans issues. I'm the CEO of the Veterans Day Parade here in Fresno, which is the largest veterans parade in the U.S. and the only worldwide televised veterans parade in the U.S. I also have been on the board of the Veterans Home out here. I started the very first Veterans Political Action Committee in the United States here in Fresno, and now they are scattered throughout the United States where the veterans have actual PAC privileges in the election process. And then I've been Commandant of the Marine Corps League, the commander of the American Legion District 14, and various other veterans positions throughout the United States and within California as well.
Wow, you have a tremendous biography and resume there. Let's talk a little bit about your military career. 23 years, a Marine officer. I guess you traveled to many places.
Yes, I started out going to school at Fort Bliss on an Army base, and then went to Cherry Point, North Carolina, then Redstone Arsenal for additional school, then to Fresno, 4th Land Battalion. Then I went to back to school, then went to Barstow Rebuild Facility, then back to school, went to Yuma. Then I was in Okinawa, Turkey, Philippines, Korea, and then went back to Yuma, and then was in Desert Storm, and was a highly decorated veteran upon returning from Desert Storm. Then I came back to, or got transferred from Yuma to Fresno, and then I retired here and have been residing here ever since. As a business owner, my largest client is the VA hospitals. We do all the VA hospitals in California, Northern Nevada, all of Hawaii, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Texas. We have offices in Fresno, Petaluma, Santa Ana, Honolulu, and opening an office in Phoenix very soon. Our next biggest client is the Marine Corps, and we've gone to pretty much every major Marine Corps installation in the U.S. We train Marines. We invented a fiber optic splice that can be used in a tactical environment, and we hold a patent to that. Actually, all branches of services use it. But I saw the need when I was in the Marine Corps that a splice like that did not exist. So we went ahead and made one upon my retiring from the Marine Corps, and it's been used ever since.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That's really cool stuff. So as far as your business, so basically the fiber optics is sort of like dealing with mobile. Is it hard equipment? What exactly are you doing with the cable links?
Well, we work a lot with the communications large phone systems and things like that. For the military, it's for their highly technical communication systems. And we also we originally wrote the procedures for installing fiber optics on the U.S. ships in the Navy. So we're pretty integrated with what we do with the fiber optics. And it's just been a real joy for us to be able to provide that kind of service to the military because one, we know it saves lives and it has a function out in the field. But it keeps me integrated with the military, and it's been really good since I've gotten out. I've been involved with counterterrorism, and I do a lot of radio and TV on military readiness and counterterrorism, and so it's nice to still be in the know and be able to work with people in the military and at the same time provide a service.
That sounds really good. Thank you for keeping America safe. It seems
Absolutely.
like we need a lot more people like you, especially with all the stuff that's going on with cybersecurity and the lax security. Hopefully, more and more people step up to the plate and get the job done for America.
That's right.
So basically you're doing well with your business, and then you talked about veterans issues. What are some of the big items that veterans need today? What are some of the key points that you can think of?
Well, one is, their benefits need to keep up with the changing times. Our benefits are actually disintegrating and dissolving instead of increasing with, say, for instance, Agent Orange with the Vietnam vets who really didn't even get those kind of benefits until 25 years after Vietnam, the end of Vietnam, and here we are 25 years after Desert Storm, and we're just now starting to receive benefits for Gulf War syndrome. I think the government just needs to step up and take care of veterans. The services at certain VAs is very subpar. I'm very fortunate to be in Fresno, California, which is probably one of the best VA hospitals in the entire United States. And it's great to have that kind of coverage here, but that should be the same standard throughout the U.S. And I work really hard with other veterans to show them what I did here in Fresno to get our standards to where they're at. It didn't happen by chance. It took a lot of effort, a lot of overseeing, a lot of congressional assistance to get things like this done.
Yeah, it seems like things are getting better, but they got a long way to go.
That's right.
Yeah, as you know, I'm also a U.S. military veteran, also Navy veteran. I did not retire from the service, but I am a service-connected disabled veteran, and I have been dealing with the VA for a long, long time. And I just came out of the military right when the Vietnam War was ending. So I seen a lot of those problems initially from the VA. And unfortunately, many Vietnam veterans really paid the big price. They really did not get the services that they deserved or should have got. Like, for instance, if you look at the homeless population, 1 in 4 homeless in America is a veteran. And out of that, 50% are Vietnam veterans.
That's right.
And so, it's just an amazing statistic how, and then let's go this, is that since the war has ended in Vietnam, many veterans have committed suicide. And suicide.
That's right. 21 to 22 a day is the
Yeah, I calculate that out, and there's over 60,000 veterans dying since Obama took office.
Isn't that amazing?
It's more than the veterans that lost their lives during the Vietnam War. It's terrible.
And, you know, at first, a lot of people thought that it was a lot of the, you know, Iraq, Afghanistan, you know, military or veterans, but no, you're right. It was the Vietnam veterans that have the highest ratio of suicide deaths.
Yeah, so it's going really on and on and on, and you know, there's been so many scandals with the VA these last few years. It's sort of like amazing how the spotlight is on it, but really nothing seems to solve those problems. What do you think about that?
You're right, and you know, if you look at it from a budgetary, financial point of view, which I believe, I hate to say this, but I believe that's the way our government looks at it. You know, in 25 years after Vietnam, you know, how many Vietnam veterans passed away during that time that were exposed, excuse me, to Agent Orange?
Exactly.
You know, those were veterans that the government didn't have to spend money on for disabilities or whatever. And I think we're seeing the same thing happen again with the Desert Storm veterans, and then we're going to see the same thing from, you know, Iraqi freedom and all of those campaigns. The problem is maybe the government is not doing that. Maybe it just takes that long to happen. But the perception from the veterans and the veteran family members and friends is that the government is doing this on purpose to minimize the amount of money they have to pay in benefits and services that they have to provide for our veterans. And you can't help but think that, you know, that's a logical conclusion.
Well, it's like technology. You know, I've talked to many people there at the VA hospital, and their computer systems need to be all upgraded to the new technology. They're still using a lot of the old computers and stuff, and hopefully you can help solve that problem, because they definitely need to be upgraded on a lot of their computer stuff.
We were doing a project at one of the VA hospitals, and we were tracing some existing cable, and it went through this one area, and we were trying to find somebody who could give us access to this closed door area, and it took us days before they finally said, you know what, nobody has the key to this door, we're just going to have to break into it. And when we broke into that room, there were file cabinets in there, and the file cabinets were actually filled, well, I wouldn't say filled, but they had over 500 files of veterans that had been lost and hadn't been addressed all that time that they'd been locked in that room.
Oh my, that's amazing. Yeah, it seems like things like that, you know, happen too often, and it's just pretty incredible how the government just doesn't get it right. You know, one thing that I was very cautious with Obamacare was that I figured, well, if they can't even get the VA, Department of Veterans Affairs, right, how can they put this bigger government healthcare system, Obamacare, into action? It's just going to be a disaster. Look at what's happening with Obamacare today.
That's right. You know, one of the things that when I was on the congressional staff of two local congressmen here working on veterans issues, when on one of the terms that I was working, the congressman was saying that the suggestion on the congressional floor was to allow homeless and welfare recipients access to any VA hospital. And that was just, I couldn't even believe that was a consideration. And we had to fight really hard to get the word out and to get it stopped immediately.
Wow, that's pretty incredible how they would try to add on more of a burden onto the VA hospitals.
Right, that's that's actually the point. You're correct, because they are already understaffed, undermanned, or under. Their workload is incredible. There isn't enough VA hospitals, and then within the VA hospitals, there aren't enough doctors, qualified medical people to take the loads on. And then to start adding a bunch more in there was just a train wreck. It wasn't going to serve our veterans in any capacity.
Yeah, that's really, I think the key to a lot of these problems is they need to hire more doctors and more staff because there is such a big shortage of the key players. And from what I understand, the reason they can't do it, they don't pay enough money. And
That's
so,
true. I use the VA. I'm a CEO of a company, and obviously I can afford health care. But I am a proponent of the VA medical clinics and hospitals. And, I don't want to go out and tell people you need to use VA, you need to do this. And then they ask, well, do you? I had a heart attack and was treated at the VA. I've had a shoulder implant, done on my shoulder. I've had an ACL reconstruction on my knee, all done with the VA, and all of them very successful. And I've always been treated with the utmost respect at these VA hospitals. I've had face-to-face meetings with Shinseki, and I've had 2 face-to-face meetings with McDonald and also his deputy assistant. And we get to sit down and talk about specific issues and where the shortfalls are. But when I'm in the hospital, I always make it a habit to ask the doctor or the nurse or the PA why they are choosing to work at the VA hospital. And many of them came from private practice, and almost all of them say to give back what I have been given so freely. I realize I'm not making the same money, but the satisfaction I get of working for veterans far outsees what any kind of monetary value I could receive.
yes. Well, I think that's very honorable for those doctors that do that, but there's such a shortage in doctors nationwide too, from what I understand. And there's a bidding war to get these doctors in these key places. So you would think that if somebody's being offered a lot more money, they're going to go to where the money is.
To some extent, yeah, I agree. But like I said, the ones that I've spoken to, it wasn't about the money. It was about
The service.
paying back.
Yeah, and that is so cool. One of the other issues that I've thought about from my own personal experiences is it takes a long time from the time you leave the Department of Defense to get to the Department of Veterans Affairs. For most veterans, that's a long transition time. If there was a shorter period between the time a veteran got from the DOD or got released from active duty to the VA, then there would be less complications, less problems, and less expense for the taxpayers. What do you think about that?
You're correct, and you're so correct that that's in fact what the VA is doing now. Part of your getting out of active duty is a seminar with the local VA and the disabled veteran and vets to talk over what your benefits are and how you go about applying and being registered. And they've really shaved a lot of time off that what used to take months now is done in weeks.
Yes, yes. Well, that's a good thing, because I know there's many veterans that it takes them such a long time to get their benefits and services. They actually create more problems for them, their families, and actually at the end of the day, it's costing the taxpayers a lot more money.
They are. Right now, one of the projects that I'm working on with the PBS station here in Fresno is we're doing a 5-part series on why the military. And our very first episode is going to be shown on the 10th of November. And it's about why I joined the military and was it what I thought it was going to be. Subsequent shows are going to be on, there were 8 graduates from Buchanan School that lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan. They call it the Buchanan 8. And we're going to be speaking with some of the parents of those veterans that gave all and talk about what it's been like and what they've had to endure. Then we're going to be talking to wives whose husbands have been deployed 2, 3, 4 times and what struggles they have. And then we'll be talking also about what benefits you have available to you and how do you get involved. And we're going to have some doctors and nurses that are involved with the VA. So we're hoping that this is going to be a very educational show, and it's good. Hopefully we can get it syndicated so that other people can learn that they're not alone. We have a lot of family members that are dealing with service people that have PTSD, but they don't know what PTSD is. And we have, a lot of family members that are dealing with depression and people that are hurting, physically hurting, but don't know that they have access to military veteran benefits. So we're hoping that this is going to be something that benefits a lot of people, and we have very high expectations of this.
That is really good. I think education is really vital to letting veterans know what kind of benefits and services they're entitled to. I know that when you get out of the service, you may not think that there isn't anything wrong with you, but in fact, you might have some symptoms like post-traumatic stress disorder or depression or some of these other mental conditions.
Right, and PTSD has had a lot of different names in the past, from shell shock to battle fatigue to whatever, and you can't hardly have a discussion with people who had a father, uncle, grandfather in World War II that didn't say, they never talked about it. I never knew anything about what he did in World War II. And these guys went to their graves battling a lot of PTSD, is what we call it today.
Yes.
But we could have saved a lot of these guys, and they could have had more of a productive and more of an enjoyable lifestyle had we been able to tell them, hey, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. There's nothing wrong with going to group therapy with people that have a lot in common with you and getting through this.
Yeah, one of the areas that confuses or is really complex is the way the VA determines disabilities, like they have what these called combined disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you may have a 40% and a 30% and a 80%, whatever, and it might end up like 60% combined rating, and the VA only pays on that. What do you think? Is there any movement to sort of get these combined ratings more in line with mathematics?
Yeah, actually there is. Especially with the new Secretary of VA with McDonald, because he's not, a prior military guy, your typical, general or high-ranking officer that became the Secretary of VA. He's coming in with a lot more open mind, thinking outside outside the box, you know, trying to figure out what's a better way of doing business. And, you know, actually, I got asked to address the congressional floor on Shinseki. And when I was giving my opinion on that, I had a congressman who stopped me mid-track and said, I can't even believe you're a retired Marine officer. You know, Shinseki was a general, you know, and if he ran his command that way, he would have been relieved. And I stopped the congressman and I said, the difference is Shinseki didn't have the same authority as he did with a general. As a general, he could relieve, he could court-martial, he could, retire people, he could have them discharged, you know, but as Secretary of Veteran Administration, he didn't have that authority. It takes almost an act of Congress to get somebody fired or relieved that worked for the VA. I said, give him the same authority that he had when he was a general, and then I'll agree with you that he didn't do a good job. But
Yeah,
by his hands that way, there's absolutely no way you can compare his authority as a general to his authority as a Secretary of Veterans Administration.
yeah, it seems like with all the scandals that's taking place with the VA, very few employees are basically being held accountable.
You're right. You're right. And they know it. You know, right off the bat, they know it, you know. So it's here at the VA hospital in Fresno, every time I've been here, you know, when I'm being wheeled around or whatever, these the employees there are very quick to say, I just want to thank you for your service. I appreciate what you've done. If there's anything you need, you know, please don't hesitate to ask. And I've just found these guys so professional, so courteous, and respectful, that, my gosh, I every time I'll go out and buy a box of candies or this, that, or the other and bring it back and give it to that ward or give it to that nursing station and say, hey, I just want to say thank you for the way you treated me here. I have absolutely no complaints at all, and I am always just praising the way you all are here in Fresno, VA.
Wow, that's so cool. Now, you are connected to some really great veteran organizations. One, like you said, the parade that you do every year is pretty awesome. I've personally been to it and I've seen it. It's great. If somebody wanted to get involved, businesses or veterans or anybody, who would they contact or how would they get in touch with somebody to be involved in that? Or is there a website?
Yes, there is. It's let me see. It's Fresno Veterans Day Parade.com. The other thing is they could definitely give me a call, and I don't have a problem putting my phone number out there or my email address out there. I've been the CEO of this organization for, I believe this is my 10th year, and we have a board of trustees that the chairman, who is Chris Gonzalez, who is a prior Marine. Chris is actually the committee chair for organizing the parade, and he has been just phenomenal. It used to be Bill Dietzel, and then it was Lisa Hawkins Tripp, and then now it's Chris Gonzalez, and he is doing a spectacular job. But if people want to give me a call, they can call me at 559-351-3136. Again, 559-351-3136. Or my email address, which is D as in Daniel, Payne, Payne, at Cable, CABLE, links, LINKS.US.
Great. Now, when is the parade going to be this year? And yeah, that would be good to know a little bit about what is actually going to happen for this year.
The parade is always on the 11th of November, and we always start the parade at 11:11, which is the time date of the armistice being signed. So we've always done the parade. We commenced the parade at that time. Channel 24 actually does the televising of that, and they hook up with the Pentagon, and the Pentagon sends it to every ship, every base housing throughout the world. And so it's always on the 11th of November, and every year we give honors to one of the branches of service. We even did the Merchant Marines and the Coast Guard a couple of years ago. This year we're honoring the Marine Corps, and Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North will be our guest of honor.
That is so cool.
And, Grand Marshal for the parade. Next year we're doing the Army, and I'm hoping to get a good friend of mine, Chris Tonto Parato from Benghazi, to be the Grand Marshal next year. This year, in addition to Oliver North being the Grand Marshal at the parade, he's also my guest of honor for the Marine Corps birthday ball, which is the day before, on the 10th of November. And normally it's a very private and very traditional ceremony that is put on every year. This year we opened it up to the public, and the public is invited to attend the Marine Corps ball, and there's still about 100 tickets available for people who would like to go to the ball. And we do have a point of contact that you can buy the tickets from, and it's Virginia Cardinal. And let's see, I'm trying to get her phone number so I can get that out to you.
Okay, cool.
But her phone number is 559-289-3417. Again, that's 559-289-3417. And we can take your credit card over the phone. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be able to come to a Marine Corps ball and see the Marine Corps traditional ceremony as it's done all over the world, and be able to meet and possibly take photos with Colonel Oliver North. And we hope that people will come. We need to sell 100 more tickets so we can break even on this event, and it's going to be an event that people will not forget.
Okay, what is the cost for the ticket?
It's $125 a person. It's a formal event. We have a live band. We have active duty Marines that are providing the ceremony, and it includes a filet and chicken, both. It also includes some other options. If you want to pay more, you can get a photo with Oliver North. You can get an autographed book by Oliver North, and he'll do it right there before your eyes. It's just going to be a fantastic event.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, all right, so those are some of the events that you're directly responsible for. You're also connected to the Veterans Home.
Correct.
Tell us exactly how does a veteran get there, or what do they have to do?
There's a website that they can go to, which is the Central Valley Veterans Home.org, and they can go to that site and fill out the paperwork to actually go into the home. Now, the home is a veterans home. It's not a convalescent home. It's for veterans that even their spouses, a veteran and his spouse, can occupy a room in the veterans home, and it's a very nice room. They're painted different colors. It's not hospital looking where it's all white or gray walls. They all have individual internet, individual paid TV. The place looks like a resort. It is gorgeous. A lot of woodwork, a lot of sitting down areas. It has a cafeteria, or you can have dinner in your room. You can leave the facility, go shopping or do whatever, and come back. You're not restricted to then we have another week where veterans require some medical attention. So it's just a fantastic place. Now, we went through a lot of trouble trying to get this home in place. The agreement was that the federal government would pay for the home to be built, and it was $155 million, and it encompasses 27 acres plus the home on that acreage, I should say, including the home. And around that home, we were going to put in a golf course and a PGA golf course, and Trump got involved in that. This was back in like 2005 time frame, and Trump got involved, and he wanted to sponsor the PGA tournament and invested money and time for the veterans, and he wasn't even running for president at the time. It was just a passion that Trump had for veterans, and Trump was known to donate $1 million to the veterans in New York to continue having the Veterans Parade because we have to raise our own funds for that.
Yes.
And he donated $1 million to the Veterans Parade. Now, when we first got the designs for our veterans home and Trump got involved, Trump said, hey, let's step up the appearance of your veterans home. Let's have it face the country club, and let's have them resemble each other. So we ended up increasing the appearance of our veterans home due to Trump and his recommendation. And now we have the best veterans home in the entire United States. And it is the standard for veterans homes now. And this was all a lot to do with Trump's involvement.
Well, that's pretty amazing that a lot of these good stories about Trump don't get out. And I'm glad you're here to talk about that, because that's such a nice story and a very good thing that Donald Trump did for the veterans. And
well, it even went farther than that. Donald Trump was going to have his son Don move to Fresno to oversee the golf course. The disappointment was that one of the guys that was involved in the construction of the golf course embezzled, we estimate, $65 million. And we ended up losing the golf course through bankruptcy and court liens and everything else. But we had Jack Nicklaus and his son came out here. I met them many times, and they designed the golf course. I had lunch with Ivanka and their attorney, Michael Cohen, and Charlie Waters and myself. It was just the four of us that had a nice, quaint lunch. Ivanka was just impeccable in her knowledge of business and being able to quote ratios, and it was amazing that she was as professional and well versed as she was. I mean, you look at her, and I don't want to be chauvinistic or whatever, but most people would look at her and just think that she's a model and beautiful and whatever. But that girl is extremely knowledgeable on construction.
Wow, that is so cool. I had a chance to meet Laura Trump the other day and shook her hand and in fact said, God bless you, God bless her. And they're such a talented family, very professional and very smart and just really very humble too.
Absolutely. I had the opportunity to work for both the Clintons and the Trumps, and there is absolutely no doubt in my mind over Trump's sincerity for the concern of our country, for the concern of our veterans, for the concern of the working class. When Trump used to come out here and talk to the construction guys on the project of the Veterans Home and the golf course, he really took the time to talk to these guys. And it wasn't like a passing, hi, how you doing? He would stop and literally talk to them about how are you doing, how you being treated, what do you think of this project, do you feel a significant involvement? I mean, the questions he was asking weren't, shallow questions. He really cared about these guys, and if they had a concern, he stood there and he listened. And then he looked over at the people that worked for him, and they got on it. It was not, going to deaf ears by any means. And I totally am just impressed with Trump. And not to be political or anything, but I'm actually his regional campaign chairman for Central California for Veterans for Trump. And I've got tons of veterans that are working around the clock for Trump that are calling Florida, Iowa, Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, just nonstop making phone calls in behalf of Trump.
That is so cool. Back in the 90s, I was the coordinator for the Bush Quayle Committee for veterans at that time. And so,
wow, good for you.
And I do commend you on your service to our country and service to this campaign, because I truly believe I'm serving with you too. I'm supporting Donald Trump because I do believe we need to make America great again.
Absolutely. I had an opportunity to meet George Bush Sr. When I was in Desert Storm, and months later, upon returning from Desert Storm, I actually got a message from the president telling me of his interest of nominating me for Air Defense Advisor to the White House.
Wow.
And I got to go through the interview process, and then of course he lost the election and Bill Clinton won.
Yes.
But I was still in the service when Bill Clinton became the commander-in-chief, and I remember how they started downsizing the military. And, when we would go out to the field to do an exercise, I had Marines with placards on their chest saying Humvee or tank or whatever, and they're walking around imitating a Humvee or a tank because we didn't have the money for fuel or for maintenance to maintain operational readiness. And we lost a lot of our troops, and then of course Bush came back into the presidency, Bush Jr., and we built up the military once again. Now that Obama's been in office, we've lost a lot of military people once again. Our active duty army went from 790,000 to 460,000 and still dropping. We actually have less active duty army personnel than we do reserves in the army right now.
It's really...
Navy went from over 480 shifts, not counting medical shifts or maintenance shifts or service shifts, supply shifts, to 280 shifts, and in that number they count medical, supply, and maintenance shifts. So it's a false number of what we had before and what we have now. The Air Force says that it pretty much takes 3 aircraft to keep one in the air because of cannibalism, taking parts off 2 planes to make one fly.
Yes.
We are dangerously undermanned in our military and scattered out more now than we've ever been scattered before. And the American people are under this false impression that we're solid and we're doing great. The only thing that is saving Obama's high is the fact that our military personnel are so professional, so committed, so dedicated that despite everything this administration is doing to weaken our military, these guys are going above and beyond to make sure that the mission gets accomplished, because that has always been the goal of the military accomplishment.
Yeah, what amazes me is that the military is down to about 1% of the population now, if I know those numbers. And based on that, many of our military men and women have to do multiple tours of duty.
That's right.
And to me, I think there should be a limit on how many tours of duty one person should be called upon, because as you know, the more times you get in active warfare, it takes a lot from a human being. And so,
Right.
and so that adds the cost of the care once they do get out of the military. You know, we have a lot of Americans that can participate in the military, and we got to somehow, like you say, increase our military might to a place where Americans can be safe.
Well, the problem that I see in addition to that is education. I think the majority of the American public doesn't realize, if they hear me say that we have 460,000 in the Army, and they're saying, yeah, but we only have, 75 or 80 or 90 or 100,000 in Iraq and Afghanistan right now. We still have, 360,000 that are still back here that can rotate. Well, no, that's not true, because not all 460,000 Army guys are combat trained or deployable. Some of them are not ever going to see combat because their military specialty does not include that. They are something else, and the chances of them of ever carrying a weapon and charging a hill is when pigs fly. So people, because of their ignorance, and I don't mean that in an insulting way, I just mean they do not understand what it's like in the military. And like you said, just because we're downsizing, we went from 790,000 to 460,000, the mission and the jobs didn't go away. Now our military guys are wearing multiple hats.
Yeah.
Not only am I a motor T guy, but I'm also an infantry guy, and I'm also a whatever guy. All those billets still have to be filled.
Yeah, and
you look at the difference between World War II, where the guys were out there for 2, 3, 4 years, never coming home except on leave or whatever. These guys go for a year, come back for a year and a half maybe, and then they're gone again. That transition, that mindset from going to dodging bullets and grenades to going home in your living room and all of a sudden being a husband and dad again and doing the Little League and everything else, and then 13 months or a year and a half later, 18 months later, you're back out in the field again, dodging bullets again. When you do that, and we have guys that have done that as many as 7 times.
that's too much.
So that is just, you can't expect the psyche not to be damaged when you're trained to be vigilant and defensive and, not hesitating to squeeze the trigger and take someone out, to all of a sudden, conform and be a kind of civilian role back in the, going grocery shopping, doing whatever, and then 18 months again, you're back to, being cold, being driven, mission accomplishment, taking the enemy out. You just can't do that over and over again and not expect to have damage.
Yeah, and it does affect the entire family, not just the member of the service. It affects the whole family. So it's the government needs to do a better job taking care of those needs and those benefits and services for all veterans.
You're right, absolutely right.
And going back to your point about the military, it is imperative that we're able to fight the wars and win.
Right.
Political wars have really stopped us from having a better victory. Whenever you try to put politicians in the way of the military, it really screws everything up.
It does. And Trump made a very good point when he was talking about Hillary and Obama saying on the 16th of November, we're going to put, I'm just picking that date arbitrarily, but on the 16th of November, we're going to pull our troops out of Iraq. And, like the Taliban or Al-Qaeda or ISIS isn't listening and saying, all right, we're just going to lay low, let them pull their troops out on the 16th of November, and the 17th, 18th, we're just going to go in there and ransack the place. The amount of mistakes that our present administration makes, and then you have Hillary that's looking at continuing the same train of thought is really, really scary to me, and it should be a major concern to the American people, and they should be very, very concerned about national security. This is not the way you run a military, and this is. I was looking at the Situation Room during the Benghazi situation, and you look in there and you see about 30 people in suits and dresses, and you see about 4 people in uniform. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? It should be 30 people in uniform and 4 people in suits and dresses. But, we have all these civilian people that are advising how to run a military when they've never worn a uniform before. And look at how many generals have been relieved or forced to retire under the present administration, because they disagree with the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, they disagree with the President, and their career is toast.
Yeah.
We need to get back to putting the proper people in the positions of advisory, positions for the President or his staff, his cabinet, and getting the right kind of advice. Our troops get very discouraged when they hear and see things that are happening to them, and they're just like, how much of this am I supposed to take? And then you got all these guys who got re-enlistment bonuses or enlistment bonuses. For instance, they get a $10,000 bonus, $4,000 goes to IRS, and then the government comes back and says, you didn't qualify to get that bonus, you illegally accepted it, now you owe us $15,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
An interest. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, 4,000 of it already went to IRS, and you're going to make this guy pay the whole 10,000 back plus an additional 5,000. What are we doing to the morale of our young men and women?
That's really the bottom line. Is morale is very low. Now, if you have this great veterans organization you're working with to get the vote out for Donald Trump, can you repeat your contact information if there's anybody out there that would like to participate? I'm sure you'll take their contact information and have them get involved too. What's that number?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, next Thursday, the 3rd of November, I'm going to be giving a class on voter fraud, and these people will be qualified to be poll observers and ensure that the polls are doing everything correctly in accordance with the Bill of Rights of Voters, and that they're following legal procedures, and that fraud is not taking place. And my contact information, if you're interested in that, I paid to be an instructor, and now I can give the courses for free. And I think it's very, very instrumental in minimizing voter fraud and it's nonpartisan. So it's a great course that it's not tailored to any one political party. But my contact information, phone number is 559-351-3136. And my email address is dpayne, D is in Daniel, Payne is Payne, at cablelinks.us. Cable, C-A-B-L-E, links is links.us. And I would encourage anybody, it's going to be an evening class held here at my office, and you will be certified and you will have credentials that allow you to observe polls. You can actually walk inside the poll and walk around and observe what's taking place. You'll have incident reports. You'll have a number to call a hotline if something is being done illegally, and we'll have people manning the phones for the hotline, and we'll try to solve it at our level. If it doesn't, if there isn't a solution, then the next phone call goes to an attorney, and the attorney will call the poll inspector and ask them what they're planning on doing to correct the issue. If they don't do it, they get released. The poll inspector literally gets released, pulls off that poll, and they're replaced with somebody else.
That's great. Anyway, while we've done our time here, Dan, I really appreciate your time here on the program. But more importantly, we all appreciate your service to America. And thank you very much for what you've done for America. And it's an honor to be a friend of yours.
John, I feel the same way. Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure, my honor. And if there's anything that you need from me, you know all you have to do is ask. I'm here for you as well.
Thank you, Dan. Well, God bless you, and thank you for Conservative Roundtable. It's been a good program and great information. Thanks again, Dan, and goodbye, and thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you so much. You take care and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.